Hey, my brothers and sisters in this world and the galactic world and other worlds. Welcome to Electrical Theology, Esoteric Life Coaching. This is a show that shares esoteric knowledge for the purpose of gaining enlightenment. And how are we doing that? By unfolding the moment. There is no past or present. If you're stuck in the past or the future, or even identifying the present different than the past or the future, then you are separating yourself, and therefore there's going to be incongruency and inconsistencies in your life. There's going to be gaps, and these gaps lead us down a road where we don't know what we're doing or how we are doing it or how to go about doing it, and we seem lost at times. But so by unfolding the moment, that there's only one moment and it's always unfolding. There's only one railroad track, if you will. It's just constantly going and going and going. And so the way we're able to unfold our hearts mean, one, we have to be in touch with our hearts. And for a lot of logical people like myself, and I can speak and attest to my own, that I lived a lot of my life through the left brain, which was a defense mechanism for the heart. Because as a person who feels deeply about a lot of things, I can feel the frequencies of beings, creatures, radio waves, light waves. I can feel all this energy. And so basically it was an overwhelming thing for as a kid, is that I then created these filters, if you will. A lot of more defensive filters, because of the ego, because of fear, lack of knowledge, that type of stuff. And then other ones that I built, these filters, were purposely done to help filter out. If the sun's coming through your window, you draw some shades. Is that a defense mechanism? No, not really. You just don't want the sun coming in. If you want the sun, go outside. But if you don't want it fading your furniture or dousing the electrical flow, if you will, then we're going to draw some shades to it. And this shade is just a filter, and this filter is just to help manage the energy that's all around all of us all the time. And so by taking responsibility for the thoughts about these energies and taking actions by building these specific filters, if you will, and then taking responsibility for the emotions that come from those actions, that come from those thoughts. And then the action that we're taking is that we're the creator of these thoughts. And if this is your first time here, I welcome you to Electrical Theology. It is about gaining knowledge that you may have not been taught in different traditional systems. So I've studied this stuff for about 45 years or more. It's actually about 50 something, but it sounds weird if I'm telling people that I started studying this at 4, but it doesn't matter. So I just rounded it to about 45 years. And most of that, I also have been teaching this information at such a young age and sharing this information. And for the last 20, 30, 40 years or so, I've just been teaching this and basically studying this. And I think it's important information that needs to come out, especially at today's time, because we are changing or updating to a higher frequency as human beings. And if you are doing your work, taking responsibilities for those thoughts, actions, and emotions, then it's going to be an easier upgrade for you. But if you aren't doing that, taking responsibility and such, then it's going to be a tough time. Right? And in essence, it's what the religions talk about being left behind, is that you won't be upgraded to the new frequency. You can use the example of electric cars. Now, I'm not pro or con, I just like electric cars, but right now we're still new within the electrical car phase, and it's not really going to, in my opinion, going to save the planet or anything like that. I understand that it's a economic move away from coal, but right now, for the next at least 30 years, the way you're charging your cars, unless they give it to you free through the airways that you can charge your car, but they're not going to because they want to make their money, that they will then keep charging you for that electricity, but they're also going to be giving you that electricity that comes from coal burning plants or nuclear plants or some other alternative, or windmills or such, but you're still going to be paying for that electricity no matter where it comes from or how it comes to you. So I don't subscribe to some of the narratives they have, but just as an electric car example, is that if the highways and everything's being built for electrical cars, but you're still driving a gas car, then there's not going to be a gas station for you. Right? There's just going to be plug-ins everywhere. They're just going to phase you out. just like an old cell phone or something. They're going to keep upgrading, but if you have an old phone, if you have an Apple 4, then you're going to have a hard time communicating because it's outdated, right? So having a new iPhone, and again, we're not getting into the politics of that. They plan, it's called planned obsolescence, where they just build things to only live for a certain amount of time, just like we have been built. We are planned obsolescence, that we are only going to be here for a few, and then we're going to be replaced or upgraded. So if we can upgrade now, then when we leave this and go back up into the sphere of where we reincarnate, if you buy into that, then you will upgrade out of this sphere or this matrix that you're in now. If you want to go to a bigger matrix or a broader matrix or no matrix at all, then I myself eliminate the subscriptions to karma and all this type of stuff. This is, for me, it's the lies that the powers that be want to tell you. Now again, I'm not for or against powers that be. I'm just recognizing that I can't use a iPhone 4 hardly with the new technology upgrades that are going in. The memory on the phone itself won't even be able to hold it. And so we as human beings are being asked to upgrade, and you can upgrade or don't upgrade. It's a free will choice, right? But if you're expecting to upgrade without doing your work, you're still going to be the same iPhone 4. You're not going to be something. You're not going to be able to communicate with people who have iPhone 20s. That makes sense? Esoteric stuff I've been studying along with paranormal, parapsychology, metaphysics, mythology, religions, and anything else you can imagine from UFOs to Bigfoots. I've studied my entire life because of the abilities and certain insights that I have gathered or have gotten since I was a child. So I've studied it, and because of that, I see that more than ever, I see that more and more people are, the gap between that iPhone 4, if you will, and that iPhone 20, to use that as a fun example, is getting broader and broader. That gap's getting bigger. So this episode today is all about strategic steps to bridging the gap, which is the heart and the mind gap, right? They're trying, they aren't good or bad. They're the adversaries. They're the jesters, the jokesters, the shaitans, whatever you want to call these. They are here to forcefully separate you, but to see if you have the will to fight back, right? They want to see if you have the power. If you don't have the power to fight them, then you don't have the power to go beyond them. Right? So they're set up in place to fight you purposefully, right? And if you get distraught or depressed or down on yourself because of this, that you've lost this one fight, right, then you don't have the strength. So why don't you have the strength? Because you haven't gained enough knowledge, you haven't done enough work, you haven't gotten the heart and the mind close enough yet. And that means we need to get and study our ego a little bit more. We need to dive deep into our twin flames, as you may hear it called, between our feminine and masculine side, which is the same as heart and mind, or more apt for me is transmitter-receiver, right? The distance between iPhone 4 and iPhone 20, to keep using this example, is that it gets further and further. So anyway, we're going to look at the strategic steps to bridging the gap between the heart and the mind. All right? So we got the strategies, which we got to build the strategy. And building strategy is strategizing, not so much left brain. Yes, it includes these verbal steps, if you will. But I want you to look beyond the verbal steps and look at the esoteric energy steps, meaning what are you going to connect? If your energy is low, you're going to connect to other low stuff. Right? The frequency in the higher realms, low frequency can't connect with that. It won't synchronize. Right? Much like double dutch. You see two people swinging a rope, you have to jump in there with perfect timing. And two of these circulations, if you will, these cycles per second, you have to have the right rhythm to stay with it. Right? That's a strategy to bridge those two ropes together so they synchronize perfectly with one another. That's your heart and the mind, and you're in the center of that heart and mind. Right? So we have to have the strategy and the ability and the desired result. So we have to have the power, the empowerment enough to go beyond these adversaries, these shaitans, who are playing their role, because they're a filter. If you can go beyond that filter, then when you cross out of this life and into another life, then you will go to a frequency or an octave above where you are now. But if you don't, then you're going to subscribe to the belief that if you don't do good enough in this life, if you don't do enough righteousness stuff or whatever religions say, then you believe that you're just going to loop back around and go to some hell. But in my experiences and my understandings is that you go into the frequency. So if I'm in a red frequency here, low frequency, rudimentary, base frequency, banal, binal, all these words, and you're still blaming, faulting others and following them in their systems, then when you get out of this system, or when you unzip from this system and go into another system, you're going to not have any more new information. You're just going to cycle back into where you left. You went from first grade, didn't learn anything, they're going to put you right back in first grade. If that's your system of belief, then you're going to put yourself back in first grade. But if you subscribe to the idea that by elevating your thoughts, actions, and emotions, by taking responsibility for them, it's going to expand your frequency that takes you out of the visible light spectrum that you and me as humans live in. And even that in itself is an illusion. Now, I don't subscribe to evil or good. What it is just energy and frequency, pulsations, beats, synchronicities. Right? And you have to align with these synchronicities, these beats, to then get between, or the veil. You have to go through the veil. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. I think tomorrow is about my 50th video, so I'm going to have a special video for you that helps you understand gratitude maybe from a totally different dimensional meaning. Now, some people believe we're in the third dimension, the fourth dimension's evil or ran by demons, and the fifth dimension's a higher evolved being. I can subscribe to that temporarily because it's saying the same thing I'm saying. The fourth dimension's a filter that we'll say are ran by demons, or they're just demonstrators. Right? They demonstrate a certain power that you have to then show that you can demonstrate that same power and go beyond that power. And what are these strategies? What are these specific steps? Well, that's what we're going to get into today a little bit more. So if we want that present state to desired state, or that desired result, then we have to have a strategy and the ability or the free will to go do it. Now I'm just going to go briefly over a lot of these questions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I want you to look at them and read them and then write down what you think about these things. And if you're willing to write down these things, and again, if you were like me at a young age and people say, here's 50 questions, fill it out and you'll get your personality, I was not into that. And I'm sure it's still sort of that way. So even me giving you these things, I understand that it's a chore, but I eventually had to do it myself. If I was ready to go further, then I had to take steps further in evolving myself, which means doing some things that I wasn't gung-ho at doing, if you will. But anyway, to the point, when I started doing my work, it's great that I can do it in my head, but I also need to write some things out. I need to talk to people and say, hey, I need you to be a sounding board for me in this moment, so I can hear what I'm thinking. Those are all great things to do. So basically, I'm just being your thought in your head that says, hey, read these sentences, right? So we're just going to go through them fairly quickly, and you can stop the video at any time and just write them down, take a screenshot, whatever you want. And write these things out. And if you don't know what they are, that's fine too, because we're going to get some answers to how to do that. Because I'm one of these guys that I have a lot of abilities. I know I can take a bunch of different roads, but which one am I most passionate about? Because one day I may be passionate about it, and then the next day I may not. Right? So that's why I have multiple strategies, because when one thing that I'm motivated about, I'm not motivated about anymore, then I go into something else that is inspiring me. And I'll go to something else after that doesn't inspire me. I'm open and receptive to a lot of things. I'll take action on that. But then when I'm bored of it, if you will, I'm going to keep going to something else until eventually I come full circle and I'm back where I was before in that motivational thing, and then saying, hey, I want to do this again. I want to pick up on this thing again. So for me, I'm never one specific way. I'm not one expert at anything. My mind loves to jump around. Now, that's not an attention deficit. It's the way I've worked. It's the way I've planned it. I've trained it, because this world, there's so much to learn. And I didn't want to waste this one life learning one thing. You know what I'm saying? Again, that works for me. So I like jumping from different things. I'm very moody that way. Right? Mood is also mode, right? In one sense. or mod. I can modify anything I want. Anyway, let's just get on with these questions because this video may be a little long. All right, strategies for forming, creating, and bridging the gap between the present undesired state and your desired state. We've talked about this in past videos a lot, so I'm not going to, this is just a continuation, if you will. But the important question here is, how vulnerable are you willing to be? That means the heart. When I'm saying vulnerability, it's the heart. How vulnerable are you willing to be in order to change and unfold the present moment with immediacy? Are you ready to change it now, or do you want to wait another 20 years? Again, whoever you are today is who you're going to be if you don't do anything different. Now, I want you to imagine not doing anything, and then 400 years from now, 400 life cycles, that you're still doing the same thing. So at what point do you not want to do what you want to do? Or at what point do you not want to keep doing what you're keep doing? If that makes sense. So, and this is going to happen with your undefended heart, mind, passion, dreams. So I really want you to just take a focus. And I want you to dream. When I say dream, and we'll get to it later, is that I want you to take the cap off of the jar of ideas. Right? We have so many filters or conditions that other people have placed there, and we've allowed them to place there. But what I want you to do is unscrew that cap, take the cap off, and let that jar just fill up with all the ideas. Come out of that jar, and these come out and allow your mind to go as far in the fantasy world as you want. Right? We're not going to stay there forever. We just want to, the idea is to just let our minds go without any filters. And then when we can float around and pick up ideas and be part of the creative process of just wandering out there in the imagination, the imaging of ions, right? And then grasp desires, right? Dream. What would you love to be if money were no object, if you could live forever, or if you only had one day to live? Any of these examples, right? What is one of the dreams, like a bucket list, right? What would be the dream that you would love to do? And I don't want your mind hopping in there and going, oh, but I don't have the money. Oh, I don't see how that can happen, right? That's the jar back on the lid. Just take the lid off and allow yourself to go into these thoughts. And say, you know what? If I had everything, you know what? I'd love to be the queen of England. Great, right? Or I would love to sail around the world. Or I'd love to start my own business. Or I'd love to have kids. Right? Or I'd love to make $1 million. Or have 10 Bitcoin. Whatever this may be, just allow yourself to say the ideas, write the ideas down, get them out of your head, and then let the heart feel them. Right? We can write the ideas and think of these, but put the heart to them and say, hey, how would this feel if we can sail around the world? If we can travel the world? If I can start my own business? If I can get in a relationship? If I can have kids? Whatever this may be for you, right? This is part of the desire. Present state to desire state. Open the lid, allow that out. Take the cap off and just let it go, guys. Right? And so that's the specific terms, outline their passion. And once we get that broad perspective, we sort of, and that was the broad version we talked about, is if you want to, go with specifics. Right? Outlining. If you already know what you want in an idea, but you just don't have it yet, then start writing out specific terms. Right? Give yourself 1, 3, 5 years. How long? What are the steps to get there? Right? Break those steps down into little steps. What's the very first step you would do to sailing across the world? Right? I would get on the internet and look for people for sailing. Go out sailing for the day. Rent a boat for a day. Talk to your friends, family, if you're around the lake, if you're on the ocean, wherever. Call up, rent, and say, hey, I want to take a deep sea fishing trip, and just see if you like being on boats, right? That's the first step. That is a first step. Get on the phone, call, set the appointment, take the action, go out there, show up, and then go out there and do it. Right? And then you'll know right away if you like to be out there in big waves and fish or just sail across the world. Right? If you want to sail, then rent a sailboat, right? Or take sailing lessons, watch sailing videos. There's a ton of them on YouTube. Right? Or if you want to fly a plane, there's plenty of it, how to learn and how to fly. Right? As an ex-pilot, so I don't fly anymore, so I just say ex-pilot, is that I love to fly, but there came a point where either I'm up there flying all the time, which is great, but in one sense, it's just fuel that got more and more expensive, and I was also doing other things, so I was like, you know what? I don't want to fly commercial because I don't want to be responsibility for 300 to 500 people on a commercial jet or plane. I just fly myself, right? And a couple friends here and there, and that's it. Right? So, but if you want to learn to fly a plane, my point is there's plenty of videos online you can find. So anyway, really detail out what are some of the first steps. I don't need you to write out the whole entire 5-10 year plan. Just start writing a step in your journal, book, whatever, and then say, hey, I'm going to go do this. Right? What is that step? All right, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to call, and then I'm going to set up an appointment. Right? Follow through your steps. Just don't say them. Start taking action on each and every one of those guys. All right? And that's what we talked about, the 1 5-year plan. I'm sort of just light on that right now because I just want you to just allow the mind to go as far as it wants to go. Don't put any filters on idea creating. Right? And are there new strategies, skills, talents, natural abilities that you're willing to explore? So we talk about flying a plane or sailing a boat or whatever. Right? Are you willing to study? Right? When you take the FAA exam of meteorology, mapping, all this stuff, some of that stuff's pretty hard if you're not used to it. And you got to do some extra studying. Some of y'all may come natural because you're great students. Right? Certain things I had to study because when you take the test, there's about 20 questions, but you have, and 20 questions come from about a book that has 1,000 questions in it. So you don't know which questions or what you have to do. Right? So are you willing to learn that skill? Are you willing to push through the failure of that test if you don't pass it? Are you willing to recycle and do it again? Right? And how can you engage some of your natural abilities? We talked about that last few videos, so I'm not going to go in it too far. So, again, are you willing to acquire these new abilities and learn new stuff, right? About these dreams and passions we're talking about. So what this next one is what are with these inspired passions, dreams, desired visions, right, ideas, right? Can you see yourself in the best light when you're being there? Can you see yourself enjoying sailing? Can you just imagine? I want you to feel the sun on your face, the wind on your skin, right? The water splashing up on you, the sounds of the crashing waves, the birds, the seagulls. Right? Can you embrace that moment, that unfolding moment with your heart? Right? Be the best version. Right? If you're going to have these ideas and these creative ideations, right, then be there with them. Just don't think them, feel them. This is going to help bridge the gap, guys. So be receptive and be open. That when you're in this mode, that these new ideas, because you're being open, a vessel, that ideas will flow in, if you will, that maybe you didn't know how to get there or what to do, but because you're open, that heart's open and vulnerable, other ideas from the universe that are floating out there come into your vessel, and all of a sudden an idea or problem that you couldn't solve before about how can you afford this pops in. Or an idea, an opportunity comes in. Again, a port for unity. Pops in and says, hey, we're having a drawing for a free flying lesson. Oh my God, take it, right? These are things that will come to you if you open up, that will help you go with your passion, your dreams, and whatnot. And when you act, where are you ready to act with confidence, right? When you step in that plate, yes, it's unsure. Yes, it's a little scary because we don't know what we don't know. But you can step in that role like, you know what, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to be open. I'm going to learn. I'm going to listen to instructions. But you know what, I'm going to do it confidently, right? What are some old ways and beliefs that you are ready to upgrade? We're just going to breeze through some of this stuff, guys. Because like I said, y'all can go back and read some of these questions and write them down. But you can get an idea of what we're going through here. I want you to take in each and every one of these questions and write down your answers. And I don't want you to answer them from your low frequency. I want you to answer them from a high, open frequency, right? Your best self-view frequency. Right? I know it may be challenging to cross over from, well, I like to fly a plane attitude. And I want you to change it over to like, you know what? I want to fly a plane. I want to be up there in the sky. I want to see the earth below me. Right? Get excited about these things. That's up to you. No one's going to do this for you. There's no angels, demons, anything that are going to do this for you but you. Right? And so we can look at this. Basically, what did we learn from the past, right? What can we take away from that? And again, the past is just an unfolding moment. So I know what some of you go, well, you said the past. For me, it's all unfolding moment, but in your head, because you haven't bridged the gap yet to your desired state, because these are some of the reasons why. Because you still think there's a past, you're holding on to the past. You're still pissed off about the past. You're angry about the past, right? You're depressed, right? So you don't want to take a move in your future because you've already separated past, present, future. So you don't want to go forward because you don't want to get out of the past because it's comfortable, you know it. And to go into something new is very scary for some people. Why? Because they don't know. So, but if you open up with this vulnerability, put out there, this gap is about you putting your desires out there, right? All right, were you willing to endure the challenges yourself and breaking old patterns? So again, we talked about this. Perseverance is one of my key words. You got to persevere through the ups and downs, right? And do your best to come out with that attitude. I know sometimes you feel down and angry and all this, but again, it's up to you to stop, take a deep centering breath, and then go and change your attitude and scream it out if you have to. Yeah, I want to go fly, right? Or whatever this is for you, whatever your desires or dreams are, right? And it is the old pattern is not doing anything different, right? It's who you are choosing to be in alignment with your core values, passion, dreams, and desires. Now, go back for the last 3 or 4 videos and we talk about core values. I use congruency, consistency, perseverance, words like this. Right? These are my core values, which are my passions. I pass these on. Right? Consistency. Now, consistency doesn't mean good or bad. Consistency means I can consistently think the same old thoughts. I can congruently put together old thoughts. And that unfolds the new moment, if you will, or the next moment that you're aware of, that it's still going to be the same. But in the moment, in this unfolding moment, when I open my heart and say, I choose to feel what it would feel like to be flying right now. When you take that choice, when you open up, you will feel that. And once you feel it, you have it. Now, the physical manifestations will still come, but you have within you right now that new moment, that new unfolding moment. Right? Let's get on. Yeah, it's going to be a little long today. Stay with me. I appreciate you hanging in there, guys. If this information is inviting to you, I know it can be a little dry left brain, and eventually we will get out of this left brain stuff and really get into some action here, into the outer realm and communicating with the other side and understanding patterns a little bit more. But this is some of the dry foundation that we got to get through. And if you're aware of this and start doing this work, then when I do present the other stuff, you'll be ready. Right? So I know you can do this. I know you can look at your old self and reinvent yourself. Again, old patterns, how can you rewrite them? Literally, rewrite them. Okay, I'm normally a said whatever. But immediately follow that sense with, I'm a happy whatever. See, you can rewrite. And whatever you do, I want you to feel it. That's opening the heart. I want you to feel what you think. I don't want you to think what you feel. I want you to feel what you think. Right? At least that's my goal for you. What steps can you make or create that balance alignment in the highest self of the passion and dream? Sort of redundant of the other ones, but just reread it and write some stuff about it. What are some issues you think you will be challenged in moving forward? See, so now once you present this, once you do this work, you have the opportunity that when in the future, quote unquote, unfolding moment, that when you do encounter that, you'll already be prepared because you've already thought about it. You've unfolded it once in your head, so when that does encounter, you're going to be, hey, I thought about this. I wrote this down. Right? Good old Chuck here helped me write that out. And now when you do encounter such challenges, you'll be like, oh, well, this was really nothing. I was afraid for nothing because I already thought about it in my head. I felt it in my body. So the next one is just basically, are you ready to dismantle old stuff and then start remantling or creating or constructing new ideas, right? And will you answer the call? So when you are opening and doing this work, you're going to hear a higher calling because you've opened up to higher frequency, because you chose to open up and do things differently. When you do that, that's opening up. That's bridging the gap. That's creating the bridge that fills the gap. And like I talked about, when you open up, it comes down. You'll get downloaded. And you'll get a call to action, if you will, from your higher self, your divine, your angels, whatever you want to call this. You will get a calling, which means it's a call to move, a call to do. Okay? If you want to have it, you got to do it. Okay? And can you set in motion, right? Connecting and aligning with these new patterns. So when you download this new stuff, right? So can you, or are you willing to have the ability to take this motion, this new calling, and then connect it in alignment with your desired outcomes? And then how close are you to achieving your passion, dreams, desires, or what are you hesitant about achieving them? Right? Again, we sort of talked about this, but there's certain things that in your own head you're like, well, I can do this, but how can I do that? I can't do that. Anytime you say I can't do that, then that's a limitation. Right? That's an opportunity to go, okay, what is the unlimited version of that? What is the new construct of that? I'm going to open up and feel this. Why? I feel restricted. Let my body feel this restriction and ask myself, why am I restricted right now? And for what reason? How is it serving me? Is it going to get me my desired outcome? Right? And if those answers are no, 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 then you have a choice sitting right in front of you. And that means opening the heart, feel what you're feeling, and then state what it is you do want, not what you don't want. Right? And so when you are finally flying a plane and you are sailing and you're starting a family and you're making $1 million or even $20, whatever this may be for you, right? How well can you handle this new life? Because when you go and expand to a new life, a lot of the old mentality is still floating around. Right? What we're doing now is working through the major stuff, but there's going to be minor, subtonal, subconscious stuff still floating there. So let's say you make $1 million. Let's say you are flying. Are you going to get cocky, or do you think you're the best pilot? Right? Always remember, there's someone on this planet that's always better than you or more skilled than you, and there's also people less skilled than you. Right? And that's not a good or bad thing. It keeps your ego in check. It keeps your gratitude flowing. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about gratitude in a whole different light. Right? And so begin to think and feel right now what it would fully be that you're flying or sailing or whatever it is, that you have kids, that you have money. And these are all things are thought. And who's creating the thought? Who controls the thought? The speed, the process, the action? You do. Right? So can you reevaluate? And we talked about reevaluating, valuing yourself. That's the core values. Self-worth, self-esteem, esteem, all that good stuff. Your expressions of your new life event experience with objectivity. Right? So again, can you reevaluate? Like, oh my God, I was back then and now I'm here. I really appreciate the process. And I want to share what I learned and what my obstacles were with other people. I mean, you may become a sailor or a pilot and want to teach others and become an instructor. That's all I am. I'm just an instructor here. Right? So feel how it feels to imagine fully living joyfully your passion, dreams, desires. Take off all filters, guys. Just allow, and the filters here, the egoic ones, the less than ones, the ones that I'm not good enough or I can't do that. I take those filters off, unscrew that lid, that jar, that cap, take it off, and just imagine fully. Give yourself permission that what's it going to hurt to think fully that you can do something or be something? Nothing. Only you are stopping yourself from not thinking that or feeling that. You know what, guys? This is going to be a long video, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it there, and we'll pick up tomorrow in this where are your strengths and weaknesses, because we've talked about this some. What part of strengths are based or derived from the ego? What part of your weaknesses are based in fear? What steps do you choose to open and take action or create? Right? Just read these sentences here, guys. And then tomorrow we'll start taking that information and sort of this chart, as we've seen before. It's a little different than what you've seen, but it's basically the same. We're going to plug and play a little bit of when you do run into a fear or an obstacle, or I can't, or I'm not good enough, or any of this stuff. we're going to see what the next step is that you can take. Right? We did this early on, but we're going to touch on it again, and then we'll sort of get into bridging that gap, or bridging the gap from present state. And so the broader that gap we've talked about, guys, is what you may be feeling is crisis. So if you got an iPhone 4 and the iPhone 20's out, and everyone's talking about what they can do, and you can't connect with them, and you're pissed off or frustrated, right? It's because that gap then is going to create a crisis in your life because you can't connect with the people, loved ones, and whatnot. Right? And it's like having your car not being able to work. It creates a crisis. And so there's a gap between that car running, you want it running, or it's not running and you want it running. So what has to happen? What are the steps to get that? You got to call a garage. You got to fix it yourself. Watch YouTube. DIY it. Right? There's going to have to be steps. And this is no different. We're just going to be taking the steps here, guys. So hopefully this is helping you today. I know it went a little long. I may even break it up in a couple. If not, just watch 10 minutes, watch 10 minutes, watch 10 minutes. And we'll catch up with you next time, guys. Thank you. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you.